Okay, hello everyone. We'd like to go ahead and get started with our session for today. Let's see. So just a welcome to the New Mexico Family Advocacy Program that's being implemented now in the 13th and 2nd Judicial Districts. NM FAP is an interdisciplinary team of lawyers, social workers, and parent mentors working effectively together to provide quality parent representation in the court system so that our families are given proper advocacy and support for reunification or other preferred outcomes. Participants in our community of practice here at ECHO will receive professional development from experts and early adopters of the NM FAP model, and at the same time you'll learn best practices and collaborate to solve complex issues of providing quality parent representation in the court system. So we'll start out by introducing those of us here at the Hub, and we will start to my right, who's Laura Arguelles, who is our tech support.
Hello, everybody. Welcome. I just want to remind you to try to remember to mute and unmute yourself when you're talking or not talking. If you have any questions or concerns or technical problems, you can chat with me throughout the session. And if you don't mind, if you could put your name and email address and where you work in the chat for our attendance purposes, I'd appreciate it. Thanks.
Thank you, Laura. Also here at the Hub, we have Caitlin DiFiore.
Hi, I'm Caitlin DiFiore. I'm one of the lead social workers for the New Mexico Family Advocacy Program.
And Michael Stanton.
Hi, everybody. I'm Michael Stanton, providing some technical assistance with the NM FAP ECHO.
Thanks. And I'm Leslie Jones. I am one of the attorneys who was originally in the pilot project in Sandoval County in the program and am currently the attorney mentor for NM FAP. A couple of things. Please remember to complete a post-session feedback and reflection form for us. Funding for our professional learning through NM FAP ECHO comes from a federal grant. So the surveys are very important to the program's broader evaluation and continued funding. And Laura will be putting up, I think, that link in the chat for you all to access, so you'll have it there. We'd also really like to encourage you to take a look at the schedule that we have coming up and sign up to do a case presentation for us. There are links in last week's email, but also you can contact us directly or contact Laura at echonmfap@gmail.com. So if you please consider doing that. So our workshop for today is parent mentoring, supporting parents and helping to move cases forward. Our presenter is Queva Hubbard, who is a parent mentor and will be the parent mentor coordinator for the New Mexico Family Advocacy Program. Queva is a certified peer support specialist who brings a unique perspective to working with families by offering support and sharing her own 14-year history with both the criminal and child welfare systems. After losing custody of her children and while incarcerated, Queva enrolled herself in a treatment program where she later became a mentor. Upon her release from incarceration, Queva continued to participate in a therapeutic treatment program from which she graduated and in which she became a peer mentor and then went on to be a case manager. Through proper counseling and preparation, Queva was able to regain full custody of both of her children. She is currently enrolled at Central New Mexico Community College, majoring in social work, and has passed the state exam to become a certified peer support specialist in New Mexico. Let me get her, we will share her PowerPoint with you. Shrink or see, I thought I was going to pull it over. Okay, and we are good. Are we good? Okay, so now I need to bring that up again now, Laura. Let's see, now it's going to be up here. Yeah, I need to distract it. Sorry about that. Okay, so can you all see the PowerPoint now? We should share the screens. Can you see it? Thank you. Okay. Go ahead.
Hi, good morning. I'm Queva Hubbard. So I want to start off with a little recap of what advocacy work is. Advocacy in all forms.
Did it go?
No.
You click there.
There we go. Okay. Advocacy in all forms seeks to ensure that parents, particularly those who are most vulnerable in society, are able to have their voice heard on all issues that are important and express their views and concerns, access information and services, defend and promote parent rights and responsibilities, and explore choice and options. Now, we all know as NM FAP workers, that is the goal of our team. But how do we get the parent there? By providing the parent with the parent mentor or peer support worker. Who is a parent mentor? A peer with lived experience who is able to share wisdom from their experiences. A peer who will inspire hope and demonstrate proof that change is possible. A peer who role models effective problem solving. A peer who is knowledgeable in stages of change. And a peer who practices harm reduction and being trauma informed. And the reason I say a peer, because as a parent mentor, we are able to relate in a peer manner, one-on-one, because we've been through, we have lived experience. And so as a parent, when you approach them as a peer, you're open to conversation and easily trusted. Okay. The sudden loss of a child can be an experience of grief, terror, and/or shame. Parents with past histories of victimization are especially likely to feel profoundly unsafe and to react by being frozen, enraged, or seeking to numb their pain. Parent mentors will inspire hope, empower parents through the process with CYFD, the courts, and other system representatives. The peer will help to build a collective sense of community for their clients. So let's look at the engagement of a parent mentor. Relate. Trust makes it more likely that parents will seek help when needed. As a parent mentor, these first meetings are very important and needed in order to build that foundation of trust and boundaries. Being transparent and non-judgmental. Keeping your word and being consistent. As a parent mentor, that's very important. If you say you're going to call, call. If you say you're going to go with them, go with them. If you say you're going to attend a meeting, be there. Being empathetic and not sympathetic. That as well is very important. Sometimes, as a parent mentor, you can try to problem solve too quick. And you have to understand that the parent doesn't want anything to do with problem solving. They just want you to sit there and listen, which goes on to the next one. Listen, listen, listen. A parent does not want to hear you tell them anything about completing a problem or how to fix something. They just want to be heard, pretty much. Also, encouraging support. You can ask the parent, hey, I heard that you had a doctor's appointment. Would you like me to support you there? Give the parent the choice to receive your lived experience or any suggestions. Again, a parent does not want to hear, what you've been through or how you achieved your success. They want to be heard, and they want to make sure that you hear them. Allowing the parent to give their point of view before reading their affidavit or file. Going into a situation with the parent, sometimes reading the black and white can make you feel like you already is ready to solve and to help, and you've already jumped the gun, not really knowing what the parent is really needing at that time. So which puts us to the next one, support. If the parent feels, where am I going? Sorry. If the parent feels support in all areas of his or her life, working on the treatment plan is not overwhelming, as it may seem in the parent's eyes. Addressing daily living activities, which could be but not limited to housing. A lot of parents may feel that, housing is the importance of them before they want to work on their treatment plan, or they need to work in order to provide for themselves. Or one of the things that I've ran into a lot is their medical. A lot of the parents are dealing with medical issues within their body, and they're not talking about them, and they're putting them on the back burner because they feel like, I have to work on my treatment plan, But social workers and the lawyers is like, we don't know what's going on. She's not attending. Well, let's address this medical issue first. independent living, you know, how does their life skills going? Are they attending parenting classes? You know, are they feeding themselves? Do they have proper resources to get food? And their sobriety, you know. Okay, so as a parent mentor, I have attended NA and AA support groups to support the parent in order to get to that point of completing the treatment plan. Their mental health, you know, I myself cannot diagnose them or say what is going on with them in a medical standpoint, but I can support them in getting to those appointments. I can support them in finding those resources legally. So the whole thing of the parent mentor role is to support the parent in their legal standpoint with the department and with the court. So as a parent mentor, we can support by giving rides. We can support by having a conversation with them before court, after court, or maybe even going to a team treatment meeting with them to just, you know, allow them to have that support. And if they don't understand something, you know, be able to, you know, lean over and say, hey, let's ask that question together. Parent mentors can address irrational beliefs the parent has working with a social worker and a lawyer. Parents can feel more in control or participate more effectively in critical decision making if they know about the child welfare system. Okay, so one of the things that I've worked with parents with is role playing and supporting the parent to address concerns, providing updates and or scheduling with a social worker and lawyer. As a parent, working with your lawyer is very intimidating. You know, a parent feels like it's you against them. A lawyer is a lawyer. It doesn't matter whose lawyer it is, you are a lawyer. And so most parents are going to feel like you are against them. So my role is to allow that parent to express how they feel. And let's talk about that. Okay, so let's role play on how you want to contact your lawyer to give your lawyer these updates, or how you want to contact your social worker to, you know, have this uncomfortable conversation with about, you know, about things that's going on with you. Educate the parents about the feelings that they can expect during the case. That is something that is very important because I myself have went through CYFD and I didn't know what to expect during a disposition. I didn't know what to expect during a TPR or whatever the case is, you know, so I was there blinded. So I'm able to sit with them and say, hey, this is what's going to happen. This is what, you know, your lawyer may be presenting. This is what CYFD lawyer may be presenting, or whatever the case is. But if this is something that you want to discuss prior to us going to court, we can discuss this. We can contact your lawyer together, and your lawyer can give you more information. Assist in bridging the gap between parents and social workers and or lawyers, also with providers. As a parent mentor, I call us bridge walkers, because at the beginning of the case, the parent isolate themselves. They cross the bridge by themselves, and they're not trying to be bothered. So as a parent mentor, my role is to go across that bridge with them and have that support and talk to them on a constant basis. Therefore, we can walk across the bridge together. And across that bridge is your social worker, is your PPW, is your lawyer. I can hold your hand and support you in doing all these things. Parents can feel more in control and participate more effectively in critical decision making, like I said earlier. Parent mentor can meet with the lawyers and social workers to give insight and suggestions on how to support the client from a legal standpoint. So this here is very important as a role for me, because one of the things I ran into is, you know, some of the lawyers say, oh, she has an attitude, I can't work with her. Okay, so let's talk about that. So the parent may be dealing with some medical issues, or the parent may have some type of anxiety. You know, one of the situations that we had, parent meets with the lawyer, and the lawyer's meeting with her at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, but the parent works at night. So the parent is getting up with an attitude because she's tired. But the lawyer did not know that and was not aware. So that's something I could speak with the lawyer about, how to properly schedule with her, or how to properly have that conversation with her about time management. Okay, so affirm. As a parent mentor, we can lead by example and mirror careless behavior. We can offer reassurance, encouragement, and hope through telling our story and being present. Notice, acknowledge, and document small successes. Again, document small successes, even if they're trivial. You could tell, sometimes sitting through a team treatment meeting is very hard for a parent to hear that your child is not cooperating with their foster parents. And it makes you feel very uncomfortable. But to sit through it and not lose your what's the proper word? Not lose your cool is very important. And it's a success. And it's something as a parent mentor, we can definitely give them that positive feedback and give them that high five that, hey, you did this, We can offer support and reassurance and encouragement. Also, allow the parents to express how he or she feels about achieving successes during setbacks. So some parents do not feel that they should be affirmed when they are doing great because of the situation with their children. They feel that being promoted or being encouraged to do great makes them feel like they're putting their children last. So allowing the parent to tell you like, hey, I don't want a good job. Just help me get to the next stage. That is very, very important in the affirm stage as well. Okay, addressing the parent needs and the parent are not the only things a parent mentor does. Okay, so the parent mentor team approach. We share ideas of achieving goals, drawing on personal experience. We actively participate in team meetings. We work together to facilitate an interdisciplinary team approach. We act within the limits of competencies and authority. We model personal responsibility, self-awareness, self-belief, self-advocacy, and hopefulness. Being aware of self and knowing when self-care is needed. That is very important as a parent mentor. We are not educated in the aspect of being aware of our body or being aware that we are carrying on the weight of so many people. So we have to be able to be self-aware of our body telling us that we need to take a couple days and being confidential at all times. The goal of a parent mentor is not promote a win, but to encourage growth, help create stability, provide reassurance, and create a safe place to be open.
Thank you. I think, did we add yes. So there's Queva's contact information for you. And these slides will be in PDF form in our resource library. So you can access the slides and this information as well. So we're going to open it up now to questions and answers from the group. Stop the share here. So if, as we open up for questions or comments from the group, if you could please remember, let us know if you would like to speak, give us a raised hand. For those of you that don't have your cameras on, if you have a camera, it's really helpful if you could turn it on now so that we can see you as you're asking questions. Remember to unmute. So give us a wave, let us know, and we'll call on you, and then you can unmute so that you can ask your question. You can also, if you're more comfortable, give us questions or comments in chat. The chat will also be saved for later, so feel free to put questions and comments in the chat as well. So if we can go ahead and go, if anybody has any questions that they would like to ask Queva, first of all, about her presentation. Have any questions? Needed. Yes, Catherine.
Hi, Queva. So my question is.
We can't hear you.
Well, it's great.
Oh, there. Oh,
Hello, hello.
that's better.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. So my question is when you are navigating the relationships between the parents and the social worker and the lawyer, what do you find is the most difficult, and what advice would you give us as not the peers as to how better to be able to relate and to get to a place of trust with the parents?
So remaining consistent, reaching out at all times. You know, you may not get the response that you want in a timely manner, but continue to reach out. Continue to, you know, encourage support. You know, especially as a social worker, you know, as a you could go to doctor's appointments more often, or whatever it is that you need to do in order to encourage that you, hey, I'm present, I'm here. And as a lawyer, I really consider being a little bit more empathetic, because from a lawyer standpoint, you know, it's black and white, and they're like, look, hey, this is what it is. But sometimes the parent don't want to hear that. You know, they want to be able to trust you and not think that you're going to come off really strong towards them before you have that conversation of like, this is what it is, and this is, you know, this is what you need to do. You know what I mean? Be able to understand the parent and who the parent is, because no parent is the same. So no treatment plan is the same, and your response to the parent should not be the same. I hope that answers you, Catherine.
It does. Thank you very much.
So we have a question that came up in the chat from Kristen, and Kristen was asking, how much do you reveal about your own story with a new client?
I reveal as much as I need to in order to support them. If they're talking about sobriety, I'm going to tell them about my sobriety and my addiction. I'm not going to tell them about, you know, my domestic violence relationship or any of that. I'm going to stick strictly to what they're asking me about and what they need support with. And I'm not going to talk about anything I know will trigger them. I'm not going to sit there and toot my own horn about what I was doing, you know, bragging about my addiction or anything like that.
And I think, Queva, you've talked a lot before about knowing when a client's ready to hear that. Can you talk to them a little bit about that process?
Exactly. When a client is ready, most clients will ask me. You know what I mean? They don't have a problem saying, what did you do when this happened? Or I'm feeling this way. You know, how did you get through this? I don't just offer information and just put it out there on the first day because it's not necessary. They don't want to hear that, and they're closed off to anything that anybody has to say at that point. So I wait until, you know, we're at that level to where we have trust and we have those boundaries, and they feel like whatever I tell them is not smoke. I'm actually telling them the truth.
Okay, so it looks like Renee has a question. Yeah.
Okay, sorry, I was trying to unmute there.
There you go.
So, can you hear me now?
Yeah, he can.
So in terms of, and I think this is not a conflict, but an issue that we as attorneys deal with all the time, is the idea of being an advocate for our clients and representing them. But also, I thought it was interesting when you said showing empathy versus sympathy. And I'm wondering there if that's a component that we can apply, that attorneys can apply, because I think that sometimes that, I guess I'm hoping for more clarification on that point.
From the standpoint of a lawyer, being empathetic?
Well, in the way you apply it, because I think what happens a lot of times with me at least is that I feel like my clients, I think I try to use really appropriate language that they would understand, and I'll say something and it's like they didn't hear a word I said, like a word, like I was speaking a foreign language. So I'm wondering then if there's some component of empathy that helps us to relay that better. Although I will say, one of the meetings I had with one of the social workers the other day, she sent out a very detailed email afterwards saying, this is exactly what we discussed, which I thought was very helpful as well, because it had it all in black and white. But I'm wondering if in the moment there's something there in that empathy that we can take from, that we can learn to try to apply?
Just being in the moment, being aware of your client's body language. If you know that, it went over their head, recap what you just said. Most parents, they're not really listening. Their anxiety is extremely high. Their concern is, I want my kids. I want my kids. It's all is running in their head at that moment. I want my kids. Are you telling me I'm going to get my kids? And so if you're able to read their body language and be like, hey, I see that you didn't understand that, let's go back over this, and not rushing them to get to that point to understand it. That's being empathetic. That's being, careful in what we're telling them, because I myself miss some things because I'm worried about the parent and how the parent is going to react. And so, I have to tell the lawyer, can you say that again? Because I'm worried about how the parent is responding to what you're saying.
Okay, thank you.
This is Christy. Can you guys hear me? I want to add something to that. So I hear you saying, Renee, that sometimes you're talking to your clients and they're not listening. And Queva, you kind of reiterated that you're right. Clients are super anxious and they're not hearing all those things. And something that I would encourage everybody, to social workers and lawyers, is there are times that we have those conversations right before and after court, but and you're right, they're not hearing you at all during those times. I mean, this is the most stressful place for them in this exact environment. You have to say it when we're here, but you also have to say it in other environments. You have to do it outside the courthouse and other times that you meet with them or talk to them, because they absolutely cannot hear it in this environment. It's too contentious for them, and they just can't. They're so focused on, this is the place they either get their child back or they lose their child forever. And so I just want us to be cognizant of, this is the scariest place for them to hear information. Well, I think, and so the question Dominica asks, how do you overcome that, is you have to make time to meet them outside of that, to meet them at their house or to meet them in the community, or have those phone calls. Or if they have a social worker or parent mentor, say, hey, I'd like to have a phone call with the 3 of us or the 4 of us on the phone to kind of talk about this thing. And I think that would help.
To add a little bit to that, I think for everyone to just think about what you feel like when you're feeling most anxious and can't receive information. What has to happen in order for you to become open to a space, to be more calm in receiving information? It's the same for our clients. So that helps anything in relating to what it must feel like and how to maneuver that.
Thank you. So I'm going to add to, it sounded to me, Queva, like one of the things you were saying was, though, that in many ways the relationship has to come first before there can really be good communication. And so
Definitely.
It's about building that trust and everything first, and then asking them to listen, where it sounds like if the first thing you're doing is saying, listen to me, they can't hear.
They're close. Yeah, they're close. Definitely.
And so what kind of things do you do to build relationship?
So one of the things that I do is just listen, have conversations about shoes, clothes, or whatever it is that we could talk about, because I don't want always to be the person that comes and brings stress. Oh, here she comes and she's talking about me getting my kids and I got to do my treatment plan. I'm not welcome anymore. And at that point, parents don't know how to laugh at small things. Okay, so let's find humor in little things, and they forget that they are very important and that they matter too, just as well as their children do. But to remind them that you matter, let's take care of you. I'm here for you. And so that's how I build that, just being present in small things. Going to the doctor, and I'll sit in the lobby while they go to the doctor. But for them to see me when they walk out and I'm there, that makes them feel like, hey, this is my support system. So next time they go in the doctor, they may allow me to go and they may not. But I'm there.
Thank you. Anybody else? Any other questions or comments out there?
It looks like there's a new message.
Hi.
It's a new.
Hi, this is Bonnie.
Yeah.
I'm sorry I joined late today. I just want to mention to everybody that these basic skills of social and emotional learning like how to maybe take deep breaths so they can get some oxygen into their prefrontal cortex and make some logical decisions instead of making decisions from their amygdala, their emotional center of their brain, or their fight or flight part of their brain from the primitive part of their brain. So those are other ways that we can, the social emotional learning skills are other ways we can build relationships with kids. So I just wanted to mention that having some training on social and emotional learning skills, that's just one example of the skills and strategies we can use with parents.
Thank you. We had a question come in from Renee. Will a parent mentor be on every case? We wish. Unfortunately, there's not a budget that would allow for that, but our hope is to have how many?
6 more.
6 more. So 6 more in the 2nd and 13th districts. And obviously, since the caseloads are higher in the 2nd, I think the majority of those will be in the 2nd judicial district. So hopefully we will have quite a few more parent mentors to work with the families. I'm just wondering who, from everybody out there, and those of you that aren't on camera and can't give a show of hands, if you want to make a comment in the chat, but I'm wondering how many of the both social workers and in fact social workers and the attorneys have actually worked with Queva or another parent mentor before. So John, Catherine, so none of the attorneys have had? Oh, what?
We have one here now.
Andrea is on the phone and I have worked. Sorry, I can't get into the chat room. It's my fault.
Okay.
User error.
Okay. And Jake, you've also? You need to unmute.
There you go. Yes, yeah, I believe so.
Okay. So great. So those of you who have worked with a parent mentor, I just want to put out there. So whoever's willing to speak up, do you know, give us a raised hand or let us know in chat. If you have worked with a parent mentor, do you think it affected the progress or the outcome of your case, and why or why not? Somebody want to take that?
Can I speak? This is Andrea.
Absolutely.
Okay. I have a case where Queva is working on that case, and it is a pretty complicated situation, but I do know that since she has been on the case, I have seen a difference just in the fact that she's there at the hearings, and my client has like a whole troop of people sitting around her as a support. And I think that makes a difference. It has not been resolved yet, and who knows what's going to happen, but I have seen a difference. I think it does make a difference just to have people be around my client who she trusts and knows they are there for her.
So do you feel, Andrea, that it's made is your client more engaged, more receptive to, requests for, to do things? I mean, can you give some, without divulging identifying information, of course, but
yeah, sure. So she's always been engaged, but I think that the difference that I see, and certainly I'm not hands-on like the social worker and parent mentor are, like they do way more than I do. But what I see in court or at meetings is a difference in confidence and comfort. And so how that relates, I think, is that she listens, she's able to listen and hear better what's going on and kind of understand, where before, when she was very scared or, not feeling as confident, I don't think that, like what Queva was saying earlier, she just wasn't hearing it. and it wasn't because she didn't want to, it just was a highly emotional place. So I think the confidence level is certainly allowing her to be more present in the court hearings.
Great, thank you. We had a note come up that there are some questions there at the 2nd Judicial District. You want to bring those up, please?
Hi, this is Chrissy Field. So we actually had a question here at the table, which was about how do we get more parent mentors, or how do we determine who will be parent mentors? And so and I can kind of answer that question, is that Queva, who is actually not just our parent mentor, she's our parent mentor coordinator, right? Will be responsible sort of overseeing the parent mentors. And we have a couple of people in mind, and Queva had a great idea to bring to the table in talking with us, is about potential parents that we thought could be parent mentors, about doing some initial parent groups with them to kind of feel out who's ready to work with parents independently and who may need some more support from her. And so that was a great idea that we hadn't considered before. And those are the things that tell us that was a huge missing piece to our team, is having the parent mentor say, well, hey, here's some new things that you can do. We can have some parent groups to bring in current clients and some older clients, both who have been reunified, and maybe some parents who want to do it who haven't been successfully reunified, because that's pretty powerful to talk about how, you know what, I really never thought that I would ever get to TPR, but here I am, and I don't have my kids anymore. And I was in your space before. And so we've had lots of conversations about that because Queva has brought that to the table, and we're so super excited that she's going to be sort of overseeing the parent mentors.
That's great. Thank you. That actually brings up a question for me, is that I know that when I've had a successful reunification with a client, I'm immediately like, my client's done really well. I'm thinking, oh, you'd be a great parent mentor. You should do this. And, you know, of course I get this look like, you know, it's too soon. I'm done. I was hoping to never see you people again in my life. So do you have some thoughts about that, about how we can, when we're working with our clients, like open that up and give them the space, like to say, come back when you're ready, or like, I mean, I assume it's different for different people, how long it would take them, but there's some thoughts about that, about how we might approach that.
Yeah, just pretty much planting the seed of aftercare, like Chrissy just said, which would be like an aftercare program where if you are interested in continuing to be a parent mentor, you know, we have these groups where you can go in and see if you're ready. You can talk to parent mentors that are currently doing it, or others who are interested in it as well, and to see if there's something that you want to do. And as a team, we can support you if that is something that you want to do. And if it's something that you want to continue as a career, we can also give you resources to do that. But just saying, hey, I think you're great, the parent is not trying to hear that. They're like, I'm done with all of you, not just you, everyone. So yeah, that would be something that you could really do, is just plant the seed and just give them the resources to go forth if that's something they would like to do. Yes.
Right, thank you. Were there any other questions from the second, or let's see. Oh, yeah, actually, I guess we just got an answer to that, kind of. Kristen Conley asked, do parent mentors have to have successfully reunited with their kids? And I think that what we just heard from Christy is the answer is that typically that's who we've asked, but that doesn't necessarily have to be the case. There are definitely parents who've gone through the system and have not been reunified, but have valuable experience and a willingness to help out other parents. Let's see. Where do we have anybody else? Any other questions, comments? So I did want to ask if again, if you had, for those of you out there, the attorneys or social workers, have you had cases where you did not have a parent mentor and you felt like having one in that particular case really would have made a difference? And if so, why? What do you think might a parent mentor have been able to do in a case that you had in the past, or maybe even current, but just again, be careful with identifying information. Does anyone have something like that, a case where they've not had a parent mentor, but they feel like it would have really made a difference to have one. Yes,
Yeah,
Renee?
Well, I think in cases, not in all cases, but in a lot of cases.
I'm sorry, Renee, I'm going to stop you. Could you turn your camera just a little bit? Because there we go. Thank you.
Sorry, I was eating my lunch earlier, so I kind of gave you the shoulder. Not the cold shoulder; it's pretty warm. But I think that there's a lot of times, like in us, even though they know we're on their team, there's that, like you said earlier, I think, Queva, that us versus them mentality because we're professionals. And I think that having a parent mentor on cases where no amount of advocacy helps them to believe that, like, they're still suspicious of us. I think that that's difficult too in cases where we have a good relationship with the social worker, the PPW, and the attorney. I think they sometimes feel like, oh, well, you're all on one team because, you know, you speak to each other outside of court or you discuss other issues. And I think that having that parent mentor to sort of assure them, I think also sometimes it's really difficult as attorneys. There are so many life circumstances that I personally haven't experienced. And while I have, you know, knowledge of it or empathy for it or training in it, I think that it's maybe more real for my clients to have someone who's been there. So that's why I was asking. I'm hoping that they would be on a lot of cases because I haven't had one yet, and I've had a few FAP cases, and I haven't had a mentor yet.
Thank you. There was, let's see.
There was a question about, Queva, how did you become certified as a peer specialist?
Oh, New Mexico OPRE, O-P-R-E. I took a training there, and I took the state test. Certified peer support worker.
Can you explain a little bit what the training was like for you?
The training was very informative. We took cultural training, ethical, being relational, knowing about support housing, medical terminology. It was very informative. Yes. And it's a week long.
And also there was 40 hours of supervised volunteer work. Is that correct? Or did you just do the volunteer work through New Mexico Family Advocacy?
No, I was working currently as a case manager, so I was working actively. I need to do the volunteer work. Yes.
Okay, because I'm doing my 40 hours, and I had to volunteer. I was allowed to, gratefully able to volunteer at a recovery center. I haven't taken the class or the test yet.
Thanks. Let's see. So there is a question also that came up in chat from Shasta. Said she feels that there were several clients who would have benefited from NM FAP and a parent mentor, particularly parents with cognitive deficits. I've seen NM FAP be very helpful with other parents, but none of my clients have been able to benefit. So as a parent mentor, what do you feel, how does that change your role of working with somebody with cognitive deficits? Or do you feel that it does?
It doesn't. It doesn't. It's all relational. You know, your medical deficiency has nothing to do with me. You know, at some point, you know, in my addiction, I was not right as well. So I'm able to relate to that. So it doesn't matter at all.
What kind of additional things do you think that you would do with somebody though with cognitive deficits in terms of, I don't know, helping them to process or understand or
meeting them where they're at. Okay, if you don't understand that, let's get a dictionary. Let's read it together, and let me help you understand this. You know, and if neither one of us know, let's go to your social worker. You know, social workers can really break it down in terminology that I may not be able to. Yes.
Did anyone else have any comments about that? I know some of our social workers have worked quite a few cases in Valencia County with parents.
Leslie, so
Yeah.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
So I was going back to, your question earlier regarding, those of us who have not had a parent mentor, and how could our case have benefited from that? And I wanted to talk about how I feel that, on cases that I have worked, and in general with the courts and clients, where I felt the benefit could have been had I had Queva or an equivalent, a parent mentor, is how accelerated that first 3 months could be. Because it can take a social worker, anywhere between a month and 3 months to really establish rapport. And then at that point, 3 months later, you can really start working that case because you have the client trusting you and working, but you've lost 3 months of time, for example. Where with the parent mentor, if the client has that relatable piece earlier on, that parent mentor creates, as Queva, phrased the term earlier, of bridge walker. So there's that bridge that accelerates the time that a client is willing to trust you, because just like the attorneys, sometimes the social workers, we can face the same stigma of being part of the system, because we also are talking to CYFD, and to the other attorney and to other players that the client's not trusting or feeling comfortable with. So that can put us in a position of the client starts questioning, well, really, where are your loyalties? And how can I really know that I can trust you? Where a parent mentor is not in that, isn't in that position, and can really accelerate that bonding for us as well. So that's what I wanted to contribute to that piece.
Thank you.
And I want to add to that Queva has great insight into the parents that she works with, and it helps the social work piece of it to have her as part of our team, and for her to be able to share things when it's appropriate and when the client knows that she's sharing it, to help us gain better insight into why clients are doing the things that they're doing. And Queva can recognize things that we can't always see.
Can you give an example of that?
I'm trying to think.
I can.
Okay.
So one of the things that I did not mention is I'm not going to tell on you, I'm going to tell with you. That is one of them. As a parent, it's one of the things that they always say, don't tell my social worker, don't tell my lawyer. Okay, that's fine. I'll go with you to tell them, because it has to be said. And so once the parent feels like they're able to have that conversation, those uncomfortable conversations with their lawyer or with their social worker, that trust and that honesty is nothing for them. They're able to contact their social worker and be like, hey, this happened, and this happened, and this happened. Yes, you can tell the lawyer. It's open. That's one of the things that I've experienced.
Any other questions, comments? Anything else? So I was thinking one of the challenges is, and after hearing from Queva about what she does and thinking how, and this goes, I think, to Dominica, what you were just saying. What groups? Oh, I'm sorry. Before we go on, so what group certified you, Queva?
OPRE.
Oh, what does that stand for?
Office of Peer Report and Inquiry. Office of Peer Support. Office of Recovery and Peer Support Engagement.
It's Office of Peer Recovery and Engagement. Yeah.
Yes.
And I wanted to also add, I forgot that the requirements for being a community peer support worker are that you've been in recovery yourself, either from a substance abuse or a mental health issue. And so that's part of the requirements. And then also wanted to say that the lists are very long. I missed the May class, and so I can't take it again until September. They're really packed. They have a long line. I'm hoping that they'll be able to create more classes so we can.
And this is the state office?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's through Behavioral Health Services, right? Behavioral Health Services.
Yes. Right. Okay. Good. Thank you. So what I was saying is that I was thinking about, there's certain things that as an attorney, and this goes to kind of what Dominica was saying, I think about that. I don't have to offer the client. I'm not going to be able to break those barriers in the same way that you are.
but I was trying to think about what, though, without a parent mentor, what kinds of things can I incorporate into my practice that would still help, you know, based on what you do. And the first thought that came to my mind was how we're always so pressed for time. We're always so pressed for time. And that really doing like the cost benefit analysis, that I probably do better to not be so focused on those initial meetings on like explaining things, the process, whatever, but just building relationship at first was my thought. So I was thinking, so then what other kinds of things do you think maybe that lawyers and social workers can do, even if they don't have a parent mentor working with them? What kinds of things do you feel like they can incorporate into their practice that would help develop those relationships and help their clients?
The 3 things I listed here: relate, support, and affirm. If you just stick to those 3 things, your client will be okay with speaking with you. You know, being relational, supporting them. You may not be able to go with them to the doctor, but send a text message like, hey, how did it go? Or, you know, did you make it to parenting? Simple, you know, just a text message, and affirming them. Hey, good job at completing parenting courses. Whatever it is that you feel is necessary to contact them, but always remember, relate, support, and affirm. At some point, we all have experienced something in our lives to where we can relate to the parents that we're working with. If it's gambling addiction or whatever it is, at some point we have all experienced something like that. And if we just think back of when we had to endure that and what we had to go through in order to get out of it and become successful, we can also, you know, let our parent know, like, hey, I understand that you are anxious right now, but let's talk about why you wasn't able to attend the visit, you know, things like that.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yes. Yeah, the conference room.
Oh, okay, so you guys can hear me. So we had a question here that maybe that you guys can answer is about the screening and acceptance process now. Of how we get cases, how we get right NM Family cases, and how we get parent mentors on cases.
Right. So you mean once the grant starts, once we start doing the random assignment?
Yes, I would say you can talk about now, which is well, I can answer that. We're not currently taking any new referrals. And then in now answering the question about what the screening acceptance process is like going forward when the evaluation piece starts.
So when the evaluation piece starts, it's going to be random assignment for NM FAP cases. For those attorneys that are in the program and those letters of interest, requests for letters of interest have gone out. And so for those attorneys that are who are in the NM FAP program and have agreed to do the work, because there are some additional requirements, then it will be a combination of the fact that they are assigned to a case, and then that on a random basis that it just comes up that they will that case gets assigned to New Mexico Family Advocacy Program. So it will be that's it, a random assignment. I'm not sure, to be perfectly honest, because we don't have as many parent mentors as social workers, right? That there will still be cases that will be NM FAP cases, but will not have a parent mentor. And I'm not sure that we have pinned down exactly how we're going to make that determination or not.
And I think the other important thing for the attorneys to know is that it could be assigned to the program if their parent is a custodial parent, meaning that the child was removed from their custody.
Correct. So it will still be the case that, for example, a parent, if an attorney gets appointed to represent a parent who's incarcerated in Tennessee, it will not be accepted into the NM FAP program. because the parent has to be here and available to work the program.
And I think something else for the attorneys to know is that we're still going to have a limited amount of social workers. We're not going to be able to take every single case. So the random assignment will occur when a social worker has an opening for a case.
Right. Right. So once all of the social workers have full caseloads, then we could go for some period of time with no cases being assigned to the program until a social worker has some discharges some cases, either through dismissal or a parent who the case just needs to be discharged until they have availability to take more cases. I don't know. So Queva, I think the question is for Queva. Do you think that having more information in paper form would be helpful for parents to absorb information about the case or process? So does it help the parents to have things in paper form, in writing? Or
That's a yes and no. Some parents will be able to understand that in paper form, depending on who's writing it and their level of the language they're using. In some cases, no, because it depends on how they process what's being heard or what's being wrote. So you can do both and, hope for the best, or you can do either or.
And I think have a conversation with the parent about what is the best way for you to receive this information from me.
Exactly. I know that a lot of parents do. They hear you, but they don't process it. And so if you give them paper form, they go home, they go over it, and they're able to process it more then. And, they're able to also get with their social worker and be like, I don't understand this, or can you break this down to me, And so I've seen that as well. So it's whatever, like Caitlin said, whatever they need in order to process it.
I actually have a question for everyone. You can just a show of hands. CYFD has booklets that they're supposed to give parents at the very beginning of the process that explains the process and the timelines and everything. How many of you have parents who actually receive those? Do you know? Are they actually getting those from CYFD? Does anyone know if their clients are getting those? I don't think mine are. I'm trying to think. I can't think of the last time a client, when I started explaining things, said, yeah, I saw that in the booklet from CYFD.
So Leslie, I can tell you, if I've ever have a client ever been given one, I would have no idea. I have never seen a client with one ever in over 5 years.
And I think I've never seen a client with one, but I've had CYFD say, well, we explained the timeline to you. Remember when we went over the timeline at the beginning of the case? And it's like, well, yes, you did, but you just took their kids away from them.
Yes.
So how much were they really absorbing at that moment? And the language that was used, was that something that the parent was able to understand?
Exactly.
Yeah. And also the parent orientation, that's one of the requirements from the custody, at least the one that they do in the second. We've asked for that. Respondents' attorneys have asked for that if we get a copy of that, or if they could email that to us, because when we have clients out of town, we ask for it in a different form, because it's always a component of the treatment plan. And I think that the reason we as respondent attorneys wanted to review that as well was to say, hey, it talked about this in your orientation. Do you have questions about this? Because it was confusing to me. And we've repeatedly asked for that and been told we would be given it, but have not received that ever either.
And I do know that they have stopped in the second, or the CYFD has, in doing that orientation. They don't do it anymore. It's no longer a requirement.
I thought it was just like a slideshow now, or something they watch on the computer.
Yeah, it was, but then they're not doing it at all anymore.
Excellent.
Yeah, I've been told that it's no longer something that they're going to do. So
they wanted it ordered in my 8:30 custody this morning. So I'm not sure that was down to the right people yet.
So what do you think about that, Cleve? Do you think that those kind of orientation or getting those booklets, or are they just not ready yet to hear anyway? I mean, or does it make sense to still do it, but then knowing that it's just going to need to be repeated?
I think it's very important that they have that. You know, the timeline is very important. You know, a parent wants to know what this date, how many days am I going to be in front of the judge again? What I need to do. You know, if they have it in front of them and they have a time frame of what needs to be done and how long they have to do it, is very important. And also it's the timing of the department and explaining it. You know, you can't explain it to a parent and, you know, it's the beginning of something. And they don't, they can't process it in the manner of trying to receive it because of that.
So it just makes me think, again, in terms of for our purposes and our advocacy, that maybe that's something that we need to be asking at the custody hearing, to ask the judge to make sure that the department is providing the booklets for the parents.
Mm-hmm.
And if we don't have in the 13th an orientation, but that asking for that an orientation session, if it's not required anymore, but maybe the judge can still say, you know, yeah, and you need to do it.
Also being mindful that during that booklet, you know, if it's a booklet, no parent is going to sit down and read the whole book. So be mindful of what's important, you know, and the timeline. Okay, so as a PPW, let me go over the timeline with you so you are aware of it, or just, you know, highlighting special pages that you feel that are very important, or meeting with the parent again and being like, hey, did you get a chance to go over the book? Do you have any questions? Do you have any concerns? Or what do you need to explain anything else with you? You know.
Kristen, yes.
Also, remember that the Corinne Wolf Center for Child and Family Justice has the pop-up timeline and information that's available to anyone. And our website is childlaw. Oh dear, this is embarrassing. Now I'm trying to tell you my email address. Is Beth there in the room?
Yes, Beth is here. But you know what might be helpful, Kristen, is if you could put it in chat, because we're going to
sure.
Chat, and then everybody can have it.
Good answer. Thank you.
I mean, it's good for us too to get it in writing, because we're more likely to keep it.
Okay, and then there's also those funny little videos, training videos that are on our website as well that might be useful for a parent to look at. And Queva, I could show those to you if you wanted to, or just go explore our website, but I'll post the address now.
Okay, thank you. Great, thank you. Okay, do we have any other questions, comments? I think we're about ready to wrap up. So just want to make sure if anyone has something they want to ask per se, you have a chance. Nope. Okay, so again, I want to remind everybody, please fill out the evaluation forms for us. The link is there in the chat. It's also, I think, in the there. Okay, it's going to be posted again. And also, please, again, take the time, if you would, please, to take a look at the schedule and see if you would be willing to do a case presentation for us in the future. Our next ECHO session is June 11th, when our workshop presenter will be Beth Gillia, JD of the Corinne Wolf Center for Child and Family Justice, and the topic is the impact of changes to federal law on child welfare practice. This is the new Families First, and the changes that are coming with that are pretty significant. So looking forward to that. So I think that we are done. I want to thank you, Queva, very much. That was great, very helpful, and I am excited about having more parent mentors working with us and being able to have more parent mentors on our cases. Me too. Okay. All right. I think that's it. Thank you all very much. Thanks, everyone. Thanks. Bye-bye.